And that, am I on?
Perfect. Go ahead, Nelly.
Thank you. So good morning, ladies, on this very exciting day where we are celebrating women. As Katie said, my name is Nelly. I've got a small task of introducing our keynote speaker. I believe it really is a privilege for all of us to be receiving an address from a true leader and visionary. Viv McMenamin, the CEO of Mondi South Africa, has successfully spearheaded numerous initiatives that have had a profound impact, not only within the forest sector, but also impacted many ordinary men and women in our communities and small businesses alike. Under her studious leadership, Viv led the establishment of Mondi Zimele, which I am so very honored to lead today. Leading with courage, Viv crafted Mondi's innovative approach to land reform, developing a model which today is a benchmark for many. Viv has and continues to revolutionize the way we approach challenges, push boundaries, and inspire change. With an MSc in economics from the University of London and advanced high-performance leadership certificates from IMD Switzerland, this amazing woman has always stood for the change she wants to see. Even prior to joining Mondi, she worked in government and anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, serving Nelson Mandela as a member of Presidential Task Force on Local Economic Development, as well as serving on the President Thabo Mbeki's Economic Advisory Panel. Ladies, there is no better person to inspire us, to give us valuable insights on the critical role we as women play in our sector and in empowering one another. So, under our theme, Our Time to Shine, please join me in giving a warm welcome to the extraordinary Viv McMenamin. Boo, 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 boo. Over to you, Viv.
Good morning. That was an intimidating hello. So good morning to everybody, and really great to be able to share this webinar opportunity with all of you. I thought carefully about what I would talk about today, and given the very wide range of people that are attending, all the way from students to CEOs like Nelly, we have a very wide audience. So what I thought I would do is talk about just 5 different things that have made a difference in my career. As you heard from Nelly, my career was, if you like, 10 years in politics, 10 years in government, and now over 20 years in the corporate sector, including a long stint as the forestry director. So forestry is really in my heart. So I'm going to talk about what I think has made a difference in my career, and I hope this is helpful to all of you as you craft your way forward in your different places, whether you're a student, whether you're a forester, whether you're the head of a business or an owner of a business. I really hope that there's something valuable in what I have to say this morning. So just starting off, I think one of the watchwords that I always have held close to me since I heard it is, before you lead others, you need to be able to lead yourself. And it is very important that you develop good self-knowledge before you start engaging with others in a way that will be constructive and take you forward. And in thinking about yourself, I would say that there's 2 areas that you should think about. The first one is, what are your core values? So what really is important to you that you want to hold? So no matter what environment you're in, what core values do you want to carry with you? So even as you can see, I've had a diverse career. Through all of that, I have carried certain values since when I was young. For example, a deep belief in non-racialism and in the empowerment of all, especially women, to develop and grow. The second thing is to have a key understanding of your strengths and weaknesses. Now, specifically amongst women, it is often the case that people are really nervous about talking about their weaknesses or thinking about their weaknesses. But this is an incredibly important part of developing in any career, whether that is going to be as an individual contributor or as a leader of people. And how many of us sitting in this webinar have received feedback, positive and negative, and all that we can focus on is the negative feedback. However, that balance, so understanding this is what I'm really good at, because it helps shape how you craft your career. And this is the area where perhaps I do not excel. So first of all, know yourself and have that as your basis moving forward. We all know when we meet a person who is really authentic, where we can feel the spirit and the soul of the person. And that has a lot to do with a person who knows themselves and is showing them us themselves in their fullness. The second area that I would like to talk to, which has been important throughout my career, is developing a vision for yourself. So even although I've had those twists and turns that you can see, at all points in my career, I've had a vision for what I wanted to achieve. And that could be a vision anywhere between 1 and 5 years. And that vision, of course, has evolved over time. But I think sitting down and crafting what really is the vision for myself, and this is the vision for yourself both personally and professionally, because of course this makes up our lives, and we need to see that as an integrated whole. So if you don't have a vision for yourself, if you don't have a vision for the steps that you're going to take forward, even as I'm saying, given that they will evolve, they will change over time, you can't expect to make progress. Then within that vision, the next thing that I always have done is to set for myself very clear annual goals. And this isn't New Year's resolutions like I'm going to get fit, although that's a very good thing to aim at. It's what do I really want to achieve this year? And again, this is personally and professionally. And I mean, we all do things in a different way. The younger amongst us might, for example, type it into our phone. I put it in a notebook. But I write down and set myself goals every year. And then I strive to achieve those. And then I reflect on those. What's changed? What perhaps do I want to carry into the next year? What do I want to leave behind? But it's always a sense of a clear set of steps that I would like to follow. The next area that I want to talk about, which I think has been very important in my career, and I think is probably important for all of us, is to build a network. Now personally, when I had my first sort of detailed meeting with a coach, and that was when I was about 30, they said to me I needed to be active in building a network, and I thought that was absolutely ghastly. The idea of sort of actively building a network seemed to me somehow manipulative and insincere. But I don't think it's that at all now. It's more about treasuring the relationships that you have and keeping them alive. Within that, then, there is a very important subset, which is that all of us need mentors, and to actively seek out mentors in your career. And all through my career, I've had mentors. Most of them, incidentally, have been men, but they have helped me, especially when I've faced a particular crossroads. So if I'm like, for example, when I was bridging from working for government into working in the private sector, I consulted several people who had been my mentors over time. What do you think about this? What are the pros and cons? I had at that time 3 different job offers, and I also had to choose which corporate, for example, I would join. And in doing that, I had to think again about my values. And for example, I chose the direction that I moved in based on, for example, the very strong sustainability principles of Mondi, and those aligned with my own values. So a very active choice aligned with my values, aligned with a sense of my overall vision for my life and where I would like to work. So that building of a network and seeking out mentors, a very critical part of one's development. Asking people for advice is not a sign of weakness. There is a strong tendency amongst women, and especially amongst women leaders, to think they are supposed to be the sort of ready-made product. So you move into your role, now you must already know everything. Well, obviously you can't. Men don't think like that. They're quite happy to develop as they go along, but women somehow seem to think that they need to be the finished article. It's a real sign of strength to reach out and ask for advice, including from the people, for example, who report to you. It's not just because you've now been put in a role doesn't mean you know everything. And in most of the roles that I've been in, the people around me have known a lot more than I've known. I haven't been an expert in the fields where I've taken a leadership position. I've had to learn as I go along, for example, about forestry, or even in my CEO role now. There were parts of Mondi South Africa that I understood, but there were parts that I really didn't. And I had to learn, and I had to gain that knowledge through engaging with all the people in the organization and asking for advice and asking for perspectives from different people. So really not something to shy away from, not a sign of weakness. In fact, I would tend to say that if you're not asking people for advice, that is a sign of weakness, because you are relying only then on your own expertise, your own perspectives, and really not seeking a wide foundation in the end for the decisions that you are going to make. The next important part of my career, so item number 5 of the 5 things that I'm going to share is learning from feedback. I really would say that it has made a very significant difference to the kind of leader I am today. The feedback that I've got along the way. So again, for example, when I had that assessment when I was about 30, I was talking to this coach, and I was describing my journey over the period before, and they said to me, you haven't mentioned anyone else. Has this been a journey all by yourself? And sometimes when you see women describing their careers, or people describing their careers, they describe it as if they were the only one. They're the only person that went along the journey. There's no acknowledgement of the team supporting them, or the team that they've been working in to get to a particular place. And I must say, I was really embarrassed when this coach pointed this out to me. But it caused a fundamental shift in my head in understanding what it is that had contributed to my growth and development up until that point. So I have again embraced the opportunities for assessments, embraced the opportunities for coaching, And again, I would say, what you learn from those, yes, it can be painful. You can get feedback that is painful to you. And for example, I find after every 360-degree feedback that I get, and we get them every 2 years, there'll be something somewhere in that 360-degree feedback that really niggles at me. But what I know now, from having been through this many times now, is that thing that is niggling me is probably the single most important part of the feedback that I am receiving. So learning from feedback and developing yourself constantly, again, whether it's as an individual contributor like a forester or in a management or a leadership position, extremely, extremely important. So those have been some of the very important guiding principles, if you like, of how I have developed over time. There's one last thing I'd like to say, and especially to the younger people who are part of this webinar. Don't be scared of putting in the hard yards. It is interesting to me, often when I speak to younger people, how frequently they say things like, well, in 5 years, I'd like to be the CEO. They have no perspective of building a career over time, consolidating yourself in a role, consolidating your knowledge. I mean, most of us know in the first 6 months or 7 months in a role, we are basically just learning. We only start contributing after that. So don't be scared of staying in a role over time. And I would say that one should be looking at a minimum of 5 years in a role, unless, for example, you've landed in a place which you really don't like and you need to get out of it, and you realize this is actually not for you. But having an idea that you just automatically go into a leadership position with very little experience, with very little building blocks behind you, I think can lead to a great deal of frustration, but can also lead then to a very poor journey for yourself. So don't be scared of the hard work. Don't be scared of consolidating yourself in a role and learning. And inside that role, constantly look for challenges, opportunities, projects, etc. So just to give you an example, Nelly, who introduced me, is the head of Mondi CEO. We are running a big campaign at the moment around building the position of women in our organization, and especially understanding the concerns of women in what is historically and still is now a very male-dominated environment. We have taken, I asked Nelly to head this up, and Nelly jumped on it, and the excellence with which she has approached it, I can just see it shining through in all her work. So she didn't say to me something like, well, I'm doing something extra, could there be a pay rise? She just took it on in addition to an extra role. And I have no doubt she is learning a great deal from it, and we are benefiting a great deal. So look for those opportunities within your career to do a project, to focus on something new, to be part of a network like Forestry South Africa, engage in those opportunities fully and meet other people and grow yourself and your career. Yeah, so thank you all very much for your patient listening. And I really wish all of you well with the rest of the seminar.